This is the NBA on NBC. The 1994 NBA playoffs. Today, Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Finals between the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers.
Indianapolis, Indiana, on this 28th day of May, the sports capital of the United States. Upwards of 100,000 of the downtown area turning out for the 500 Festival Parade. It is indeed a super Saturday. The Indiana Pacers making it to the Eastern Conference Final, and tomorrow they'll be revving the engines for the 78th annual Indianapolis 500. And here at Market Square Arena, we're moments away from Game 3 of this best of 7. A desperation game for the Pacers to get back into the series. Hi, everybody. Marv Albert, along with Matt Lucas. And Matt, you look back over the first 2 games of this series, and it's clear-cut. The Knicks have been very aggressive. The Pacers have not. And the Pacers have been pushed around by the Knicks. Indiana coach Larry Brown told us his team has to change its philosophy.
Well, we got to hold and grab and slap like they do. We got to put it on the referees to call the game that way. You know, I think the Knicks are a great defensive team. But when it gets tough, they start grabbing and holding and pushing, and we haven't responded to that. If they're going to hand check our guards down the court, we got to hand check them. If they're going to push Rick Smits on the post, we got to push Patrick Ewing. If they're going to send 5 guys to the defensive board and knock people around, we got to do the same thing, and I think that's the bottom line.
Well, in the first 2 games, Indiana has been tentative and too soft, and they have talked about the Knicks in almost reverent terms. And Larry Brown is saying that today is not about technical adjustments. It is time to get physical and emotional, and I got to think this home court is going to make a big difference in how the Pacers play today.
And Matt, in the 2 games in New York, the Knicks had their way at the center position, although Rick Smits did his share, and at the point guard position where they've had a decisive edge.
Well, unless Indiana finds a way to cut down on the catches and shots of Patrick Ewing, he's going to have no problem in scoring 30 points a ball game. So I'm looking for the big men of Indiana come down and double team hard to get some aggressiveness going. Now, one of the big keys has been the point guard situation. The defensive pressure and scoring of Derek Harper and Greg Anthony, a big advantage over the Pacer point guards of Haywood Workman and Vern Fleming. And if that trend continues, New York will stay in control of this series.
All right, as always, we're joined on the sidelines by the Dean of Sideline Reporting, Ahmad Rashad.
All right, thanks, Marv. The Pacers, very upset on losing the first 2 games to the Knicks, had a 1-hour meeting on Friday talking about effort. Felt like they didn't really play hard. They felt like they have that behind them. They're ready to go now. Now, Reggie Miller is one of the more superstitious players in the league. A lot of good things going for him today. He wears number 31, which is the same number on the car driven by Al Hunter, the defending champion in the Indianapolis 500, who also has the pole position for tomorrow. And one other thing, the man that Reggie will be guarding, John Starks, is on the cover of Sports Illustrated. And we all know about that supposed Sports Illustrated jinx. So, from Reggie's point of view, things are looking up. Marv?
All right, Ahmad, coming up, Game 3 of the Eastern Conference Final. Indiana hoping Reggie Miller catches fire. To this point, he has been held in check.
And by Mazda. Mazda, it just feels right.
Welcome back to Indianapolis. And the Pacers delighted to be back home. Home court has certainly come up strong. Last night's Utah win at home over Houston, making it 5-0 in round 3. Look at the starting lineup. John Starks, who was in foul trouble in game number 2 in the back row with Derek Harper, who had an excellent game at the Garden on Thursday night. Patrick Ewing, Charles Smith, and Charles Oakley on the front line. And And there is the head coach of the New York Knicks, Pat Riley, only the 10th coach in the history of the NBA to reach the 700-win plateau. For the Indiana Pacers, Haywood Workman, who has struggled over the first 2 games, along with Reggie Miller in the backcourt, and Reggie hoping to break out here this afternoon. Rick Smits has played very well. Derek McKee has had a nightmare over the first 2 games. And Dale Davis, although the stats have been okay, has not had the same kind of impact that he did during the course of the regular season. Larry Brown, head man of the Indiana Pacers. In his first season with Indiana, after a year and a half with the Los Angeles Clippers, I don't think that this is something that Larry devised following the introduction of the Pacers. And a little twist now. We're seeing a new dance step because we monitored this right throughout the earlier rounds of the playoffs.
Well, maybe Reggie Miller and his partner there have come up with some technical adjustments of their own. But the talk at the Pacer practice yesterday was about emotion, and they plan to feed off this crowd here at Madison Square. Indiana has won 4 in a row here, 8 overall. So they're going to feel more confident here, although they are not as confident as they were in the earlier series against Atlanta and Orlando.
Nick Pavetta, Mike Malthus, and Joe Forte are the officials. And the Pacers control the opening tip. Workman guarded by Harper. And Harper not happy with the arm movement of Workman. Smits looking to get right to it. Shot clock at 4 and a 3-second violation. That caused by the fumble of the dribble by Smits.
And all set up with the defensive pressure of Derek Harper on Haywood Workman. Now here's a steal from Workman.
Reggie Miller. And the Pacers go to pressure.
Well, this is one way for Haywood Workman to get himself back into the flow, apply as much pressure as he can on Derek Harper, and create some havoc with his defense.
McKee with the rebound. Derek McKee trying to get right to it and does.
Well, he has heard it from every corner that he has not been contributing offensively. He's heard it from his teammates, his coaching staff, and of course he's not a guy who looks for a lot of shots, but that was a definitive move to the basket before.
Foul called on Workman.
As Haywood Workman applying a lot of pressure to Harper, forces the terrible pass there, coming up with the steal and finding Reggie Miller for the easy 2.
Derek McKee in game 1, 0 for 7. In game 2, 2 of 9. Charles Oakley, and rebounded by Dale Davis. Indiana with a 4-0 lead. And Ewing knocked it away, but a foul call. Patrick Ewing pushing his way against Rick Smits.
Well, so far in the 2 games played, Patrick has been going one-on-one against Smith at the defensive end. That time he tried to get around and front. The only time they'll come down on Smits is when he puts the ball on the floor in the lane, and then they'll try to dig it out.
Oakley with the steal, but he stepped out. You may recall in game 1 at Madison Square Garden, the Indiana Pacers got off to an 8-0 lead. Appeared to be rolling, but the Knicks came back, led by as many as 16, allowed Indiana to get back into it, and then able to settle down to win it. Game 2 this past Thursday night, the Knicks won 89-78. Knicks withstanding a very poor shooting second quarter. At one point, missed 15 of 16 from the field. Miller getting it to the key, and again a foul is called against Harper.
Well, before that foul on Derek Harper, it just showed you how tough the New York team defense is. Reggie Miller turned the corner on John Starks, on Patrick Ewing, and then help showed up. And this underneath out of bounds play, Reggie Miller trying to set a back pick, turns the corner on Ewing, and Charles Oakley shows up to force a bad pass from Reggie Miller.
Workman off the fake. Nice pass to McKee. Well, Derek McKee very involved in the offense here at the Star.
Oh, he looks like a different basketball player. One time taking the ball full court in transition. That time flashing into the lane nicely.
Here's Starks for three. Rebound Smith. Charles Smith gets inside. Charles Smith had a quiet game in game number 2. Not playing much in the second half. Miller trying that shot from downtown.
Well, coming into this game, the Pacers just 2 for 9 from beyond the arc. They are going to have to look for more three-point shots. That does not mean just take them wildly, but in transition like that for Reggie Miller, that is not a bad shot. We're going to have to look for it also in some of their set plays, and sometimes when they get an offensive rebound and a kick out.
And this is an Indiana team that led the NBA in three-point field goal percentage during the regular season. Smith trying to shovel it back. Miller on the open floor against Starks. Indiana 8. The Knicks 2.
A lot of people have been expecting fireworks between John Starks and Reggie Miller. So far in this series, both players very quiet on the emotional side of things. Reggie Miller just challenged him to the goal that time.
Reggie Miller has been exceptionally quiet. Pacers look for a travel, but a tripping foul called on Indiana. It's on Workman. Donnie Walsh, the president, general manager of Indiana Pacers, quoted today as saying, Reggie has been different. He has been so quiet, usually a very flamboyant performer. Hayward Workman replaced by Vern Fleming. Workman picking up the quick 2 fouls. 3 minutes gone by, and Indiana off to the good start. 8-2 advantage. Ewing rejected by Smith. And Oakley was stopped. A foul call. Joe Forte, the outside official, with the call against Smiths.
Well, Patrick Ewing just has that quickness and mobility advantage over Rick Smits. Getting in the lane, actually a double team was supposed to come from Derek McKee, but Rick Smits did a good enough job to recover and actually block that initial shot before Charles Oakley was fouled. Now that's the second offensive rebound for New York. The first 2 shots that they took, the Pacers did an excellent job of boxing out, clearing the rebound, and going. They gave up 19 offensive rebounds in game 2 in New York.
Charles Oakley has had a terrific regular season and playoff. Did not get the kind of minutes a year ago that he has this season, in particular late in games. But he has turned it up even more so in the playoffs. And Dick Bavetta calls a delay of game warning on the Knicks. Patrick Ewing slow to get back to the lineup.
Charles Oakley averaging 18.5 in this series so far, and 54% from the field, and until that missed free throw, 9 for 10 from the line. But that does not tell half the story of what Oakley has meant to this New York ball club in this series particular, but really all season long.
Indiana 8 and the New York Knicks 3. Hopper with some pressure on the New York City native Vern Fleming, who was given the start in the opening game of the series at the Garden by Coach Larry Brown. Single coverage on Smits, who throws it away. He was looking for Fleming. The Knicks will rarely double team, even though Smits was providing some problems in the first 2 games of the series.
They don't want to double team because it opens up a possible pass for a layup at time to Fleming and some offensive rebounding opportunities for their opponent.
Nice touch by Indiana. Protested by Reggie Miller, who is looking for help from the outside official, Dick Bavetta. John Starks is upset that Reggie made the appeal, and the fact that Bavetta is actually listening to it.
Well, John Starks and Vern Fleming actually hitting that ball simultaneously, and Dick Bavetta going over to referee Joe Forte and asking, do you want help? I had a pretty good look at it. Joe obviously said yes, but that was a difficult call to make because it looked like it touched both players. Probably should have been a jump ball.
Instead, the ball goes to Indiana. The Knicks with their 3rd turnover here in the early going. Fleming using the pick. Here's Fleming. And batted out by Ewing.
Interesting interesting to watch how Patrick Ewing is defending Rick Smith right now. Talking to Patrick yesterday, he was talking in glowing terms about his good buddy Bill Cartwright, who plays him so well, and in particular in that 7-game series against Chicago. He's using some of those same methods right now with Smith, bumping him out, getting around in front. He's doing a good job.
Dale Davis, not noted for the outside touch, passed on that jump shot and then finally took it from closer range. And the Knicks are off to a very sloppy start. Starks and Smith in a conversation.
Not agreeing with how that pass was made. They just tapped hands at the other end. They can't get into a major dialogue at that point. It wasn't a bad pass, and Charles Smith didn't really fight hard for position inside.
Eric McKee has come up aggressive at the start.
Well, it's no secret the Pacers need another scorer besides Spitz and Miller, and they need it from Derek McKee, preferably because he's got that ability to score. It's just he's been reluctant with his offense.
Charles Smith with his second field goal. Indiana 10, and the Knicks 5. And that pass by Fleming sailed away, so the Knicks will get it back.
Byrne rushed that pass. He was too far out on the floor. Didn't really give McKee a chance to get set inside. They're not used to seeing McKee so aggressive offensively.
Leg block on Miller, so the Knicks get a new 24. The Indiana Pacers have not lost here at home since back on April the 8th. 8-0 since then at Market Square. Won their last 4 in the regular season and 4-0 in the playoffs. Smith getting inside. So Charles Smith, who was quiet in game 2, has 6 of the 7 big points, and a timeout is called. Timeout taken by Indiana with 6:51 left in the first. A look at Byron Scott, a savvy 10-year veteran who has been on 3 Laker championship teams and has passed on much advice to his teammates here with the Indiana Pacers concerning the chance they have to seize the moment.
You got to understand that this doesn't come around every year. You know, it doesn't happen like this every year. You got to try to take advantage of every opportunity that you get. I told the guys earlier today that, you know, I got 3 championship rings. I should have had 5, you know, but, you know, some of those things didn't happen. So as a group, us being together, you never know when you get this opportunity again, so we have to try to make sure that we take advantage of it.
Well, Ahmad, at the start of the telecast, mentioned the team meeting that the Pacers had yesterday as Spitz is able to hit with the hook shot, and Indiana leads 12-7. And the word is Byron Scott did most of the talking at that meeting. Reggie Miller called for the foul, his first. It is a non-shooting affair, and Smith will throw in. Game 3 of the best of 7. Indiana trying to get back into the series. The Knicks hoping to make it 3-0 with Game 4 here in Indianapolis on Monday afternoon. Smith's facing a double team momentarily. And again, a 3-second violation.
Well, once again, Patrick Ewing left alone with Smith, just trying to bother him from even taking a shot, and Smith will pass the ball. What Dale Davis has to do is just what he did there, anticipate when that shot is going up and get around the rim. He just got too long in the lane.
Oh, Charles Smith took a shot as he tried to cut into the lane.
Well, Larry Brown took that last time out, was furious with the way the Pacers had defended that previous play, and talked to him more about getting physical. You got to bump these guys every time they make a move. Don't let anybody headhunt on the screen. We have to play like the New York Knicks. As has been said, really when the series started, these two teams kind of mirror each other in many, many ways. The problem for the Pacers is the Knicks are much better at it.
Reggie Miller was called for the foul. This second has been replaced by Byron Scott. Charles Smith, only 1 of 4 in 24 minutes in game 2, has opened up with 7 points in this first quarter. Both small forwards going for key, and Charles Smith off to the fast starts. Indiana up now by 3, 6 minutes left in the first. A couple of veteran backcourt men, Vern Fleming and Derek Harper matched up. McKee passed the shot. Smith played by Oakley on a switch. And the foul is called. That's the first committed by Oakley.
Now that's the second time that Rick Smits has been able to step into the lane and cover up defenders. That time it was Charles Oakley. The time before Ewing. It's a very difficult cover for New York because he's so big and really has learned how to use his body very well.
Running with the step. Sets up Davis. Dale Davis in his third year out of Clemson. Extends to a 14-9 lead. Smith's able to force Ewing out a bit further than Ewing would like. Smith with the fake. Rebound, Davis.
And the fourth shot there, really, with the floor open like that, Charles Smith has to put it on the floor and drive it into the lane.
Scott. Crowd wanted a foul on Starks. John Starks behind the back to Charles Oakley. Nicely done. And the Pacers now lead by 3.
And the first fast break chance for the Knicks, and Starks does a beautiful job of drawing that defender to Vern Fleming to him and waiting for Oakley to fill that center lane.
And Ewing jumping out for the double team. McKee backing Smith. Derek McKee is fouled by Charles Smith. For Smith, his first.
Well, the Knicks on the road to win a ball game. They have to get as many fast break opportunities as they can. That's just their first today, and Vern Fleming looked like he was going to take a hard foul on Starks going to the basket. John read it very well. John really is not himself. He's playing at about maybe 75-80%. In fact, 2 months from that arthroscopic knee surgery, and you can tell by his perimeter shooting. He just does not have his legs under him. He's working very hard at the defensive end, but it's not the John Starks of the first half of the season. No question about that.
Derek McKee acquired from the Seattle Supersonics in the deal for Detlef Schrempf. When he first reported to Indiana, bothered by a pulled hamstring, not himself. Pacers took some criticism regarding the deal, and then he was able to settle in. But his offense always inconsistent. He has come out strong here at the start. And a foul again is called on Smith, trying to push McKee out of position.
And that's some of that physical, aggressive defense that Larry Brown has been telling his team what they need. McKee bumped Charles Smith very hard on his way to the post position and really battled him hard for that position.
Anthony Mason will come on for Charles Smith. At the next dead ball, Indiana leads 16-11. Shot clock at 7. Shot clock at 3. And McKee lost it. They'll jump it up. Smith and Smits tie it up.
And the question now is, as both John Starks and Patrick Ewing are looking to the officials for a 24-second violation, Dick Pavetta is going over to the scorer's table to check out what the clock was when the possession started. And what it is now, as Derek McKee, with the shot clock winding down, trying to do the right thing, drive the ball to the basket to force something, and preferably a shot at that point. But Charles Smith, a good defensive job of knocking the ball loose and forcing the jump ball.
They will jump it up. Smith with about 5 inches on Smith, but Smith won the tip. Starks from downtown.
That's what I mean, Marv, about his shot. He is just not getting his legs into it. It's just all arm and does not look smooth at all.
Starks fighting through the screen to play Scott. And it's an offensive foul. Byron Scott called for the charge.
Patrick Ewing stepping up to take this charge. This is something that the Knicks do so well. They chart this. They take pride in it. Charles Oakley, the best maybe in basketball at doing it, and it kind of is contagious to the rest of the team. They all want to try to get as many as he can. I don't think they'll ever catch him, though.
Anthony Mason and Hubert Davis have come on. John Starks, Charles Smith sit down. They double up on Mason. 3:20 remaining in this first quarter. Hubert Davis can't find the shot. The double team has been very effective. Now, in the past, the Chicago Bulls have effectively doubled up, in particular during the Michael Jordan days. They have bothered the Knicks with the double team, and apparently that is part of the strategy of Larry Brown here this afternoon. Smits rejected by Ewing. Smits with the open shot. Hubert Davis forced into a traveling violation.
Well, the outlet pass from Oakley to Davis, and Davis was in a 1-on-5 situation. Actually, that ball was knocked loose by Derek McGee, but it goes against New York. Timeout on the floor. Talking to the New York coaches, talking about John Starks still not having his legs under him at the offensive end. And for a guy who shoots so many perimeter shots and really likes the three-point shot, it's so important for his legs. And it kind of looks like he's moving into the shot, all right, but when you can see after he releases it, he's moving backwards, and that's why the shot is short. He's just not a confident shooter from the perimeter right now.
And as you see, 0 for 3 this afternoon, 2 from downtown, and only 7 of 29 the last 4 games, but still has had the value because of his defensive play. He has provided problems for Reggie Miller.
Well, and his feistiness, and from being in these positions before, the fact that he takes pride in playing a very good offensive player like Miller.
Indiana 16, the Knicks 11 as we wind down in this first quarter. Oakley with the rebound. Harper and Davis in the backcourt. Hubert Davis trying to bounce back from the 0 for 6 in game 2. Oakley, Ewing, Mason up front. Another Knick turnover. It is their 8th of this first quarter. It's a high number, and a foul is called. It's on Davis.
And that was just for New York, a simple play that they run about 30 times a game, with Hubert Davis turning off Patrick Ewing just to catch the ball and throw it into Patrick, and he zigged when he should have zagged. And the Knicks have had a couple of those plays so far, and I don't know why they'd be rattled. The crowd is really not what we saw here a couple of weeks ago. This building can get very, very loud, and with the Pacers playing very well today, I would expect more emotion and more adrenaline coming from this from the crowd here at Market Square.
All right, Byron Scott to the line. Let's go to Ahmad Rashad. Ahmad?
All right, Mark, during that last time out, Pat Riley very much concerned with the Knicks. Felt like they were playing back on their heels, also concerned about the fact of the Pacers trapping defense in the backcourt, causing the turnovers. Marv?
8 thus far in this first quarter. Greg Anthony has checked in for the first time. Anthony had a very strong opening game last Tuesday in New York. And then Derek Harper played very well on Thursday. Knicks with the ball down by 6. Ewing getting position. And then came up short. He thought he was fouled.
And actually, not only a double team, but a triple team coming. Patrick beat it, but I think that's why the shot was short. He did get hit on the arm.
McKee had the step, could not convert. Patrick Ewing scoreless thus far in this first quarter. Oakley off the fake, sets up Mason. And the Pacers now lead 17-13.
And Mason looked around. He couldn't believe that a foul was not called there on a nice play by Charles Oakley, who normally doesn't get to put the ball on the floor and create for teammates in that way.
Indiana's missed his last 5 shots, make it 6 in a row. Oakley. And Dale Davis on that loose ball as we come up on 1 minute remaining. First quarter. Davis poked it away. Davis off the steal. Scott is back. And a nice move by Hubert Davis to finish it off. Pacers 17, Knicks 15.
Well, the Knicks have made a specialty in this series of making runs at the end of quarters. We saw it in the first half the other night, and really at the end of the third quarter in game 2.
Dale Davis with his second field goal. Indiana leads by 4. And Anthony tripped up by Fleming.
All right, Patrick Ewing posting up Rick Smits inside. The Pacers have been wanting to double team from the top, and Fleming reads it right away. He's going to come down, and Derek McKee is going to come over, but they come too late as Patrick Ewing able to slip inside and get that shot off, and he was actually hacked on the wrist by Rick Smits.
One time, Indiana Pacer Herb Williams has replaced Patrick Ewing. So Ewing 0 for 3 in this first quarter. Remember, though, Greg Anthony snuck in a practice free throw and hit that one, but it won't count. Patrick Ewing in Game 7 against the Chicago Bulls went through that scoreless first half and then came on strong in the second half. 39 seconds to go. First quarter. Indiana leads by 3. Antonio Davis checking in along with Kenny Williams. Rick Smits sitting down. Byron Scott. Pacers 21. Knicks 16. And the Knicks want to hold for a final shot down to 20 seconds in the first.
It was one of the best jobs of screening and using the screen that time by Byron Scott, and the reason was Herb Williams was late in showing up and turning him away.
Nice play by Scott, getting a piece of it. Knicks recover. Time running out. Davis for 3. Yes! Hubert Davis from downtown as time runs out in this first quarter. After one, Indiana, after getting off to the fast start, leading by only 2. The Pacers 21 and the Knicks 19.
Ahmad Rashad back at Market Square Arena here in Indianapolis. Now, while in most arenas, all teams have a song. Like in New York, they have the Go New York, Go New York, Go. Well, here, it's the sounds of the Indianapolis 500 that gets this crowd fired up. Watch this. See, wait, you push it in, and then you push this. There it is. That's the sound. Look at it. They get fired up when they hear that. I get a little fired up myself, too.
That Ahmad is just so mechanical.
He needs to get one of those for Christmas.
Well, the 78th annual Indianapolis 500 will get underway tomorrow morning at 11 Eastern time. Some 400,000 expected at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Second quarter is underway. Pacers 21 and the Knicks 19. It counts and the foul. Vern Fleming called for the foul.
Well, the Knicks guards have been so aggressive, even though they have not shot the ball particularly well from the outside on a consistent basis. They are playing so hard at the defensive end that they feel much better when they try to shoot the ball. So Greg Anthony has had a big game, 16 in game 1, and Derek Harper with 18 the other night, and now Hubert Davis, after a bad game 2, is making his contribution today.
And Hubert Davis knocks down another. He had a three-pointer at the end of the first quarter. The Knicks lead for the first time. They're up 23-21. Kenny Williams for Byron Scott. So Scott ties it at 23.
Byron Scott, I think the Knicks defense has fell asleep a little bit with Reggie Miller out of the ballgame. Now the screens are being set very well, and Scott is using them nicely.
Herb Williams, one-time Indiana Pacers, spent 7.5 years with Indiana. They moved on to Dallas. This is second season with the Knicks. He had a big game here earlier this season against his former club. Antonio Davis stripped. And a blocking foul. No, it's an offensive foul. It's called on Anthony. So the Pacers will get it back.
Almost complete second units out on the floor right now, with the exception of Dale Davis and Charles Oakley.
And now Fleming is called for a push. offensive foul on Vern Fleming. That's a quick three. Fleming and I'd say Larry Brown expressing concern.
And some might even say that was a makeup call, because on the last foul, Pat Riley jumped off the bench. He thought that Vern Fleming had been moving on the charge call against Anthony, and we see it go the other way.
Workman checks back in. He has 2 fouls. Reggie Miller's been sitting down after picking up his second. Oakley from deep. And slapped out by Herb Williams.
The Indiana Pacer defense is so much more aggressive today. They're ready to double team quickly, and it's one thing to double team, it's another thing to recover out of it, and they're doing a good job of that, coming out, closing down, and forcing the Knicks to take some very poor percentage shots.
Pacers now with Hayward Workman and Byron Scott in the backcourt. Antonio Davis, Derek McKee, and Kenny Williams on cross. Scott not expecting that pass, able to recapture. And Mike Mathis and Dick Pavetta both had the call, and some words exchanged. Foul is called on Hubert Davis. Anthony Mason being ushered aside by Charles Oakley.
Well, as Byron Scott was driving by Hubert Davis, Byron and I took exception to being grabbed and stuck his left elbow out very, very high. Didn't hit anybody with it, but Herb Williams had something to say to Byron Scott.
Again, Scott open and draws the foul. That is number 3 on Davis, and that will bring John Starks off the bench.
Byron Scott is just giving Davis a nightmare off those baseline screens. The Knicks guards are supposed to follow people like Byron Scott and Reggie Miller off those screens. Davis got caught trying to go over the high side. Byron, with all his experience, read it beautifully and faded to the corner.
Hubert Davis sitting down and frustrated by the fact that he picked up his 3rd, because he has certainly had the touch. 3 of 3 from the field for 7 points, turning it from the 0 for 6 on Thursday.
Reggie Miller getting a very long rest. He sat out 6 minutes of that first quarter, and now Byron Scott is on the floor mainly because he's playing well. And of course, Reggie Miller has those too, and he normally does not play a lot of minutes in the second quarter.
Scott, one of the better foul shooters in the league, over 80% from the line. He's tied the game at 25. 2 minutes gone by in the second. Marv Albert, Matt Lucas, and Ahmad Rashad from Market Square Arena in Indianapolis. Anthony Mason drills the jump shot, and the Knicks lead by 2.
All set up by Greg Anthony's penetration. He drew 3 Pacer defenders to help out very aggressively. It left Mason wide open, and I'm sure Larry Brown does not mind that shot going up. Better than something inside and better than something on the offensive board.
Hayward Workman off the mark. Good box out by Anthony Mason. Mason, Williams, Oakley on the front line with Starks and Anthony in the backcourt. Mason and Williams battling for position. Mason rejected and fouled by Kenny Williams.
I was talking to the Pacer coaches yesterday about what makes them go to either Kenny Williams or Sam Mitchell as a backup small forward. They said that Kenny Williams can give them more offense, but he really struggles in the strength department at the defensive end.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Coca-Cola Classic. Always the real thing. Always Coca-Cola. By KFC. Try the Colonel's new rotisserie gold chicken. At KFC, we do chicken right. And by Ford and your Ford dealer. Have you driven a Ford lately?
Back in Indianapolis, a quiet start for 2 of the Knicks starters, Patrick Ewing and John Starks, yet to get on the scoreboard. A similar pattern for the Knicks that we witnessed in game 1, where the bench in many instances did better than the counterparts at the starting position. You can see what the Knicks are doing here today. The reserves have outscored the starters 16-11. Hubert Davis leading the way with 7, but he picked up a 3rd foul. And Anthony Mason will head to the line.
Well, it's not absolutely crucial that Patrick Ewing and Starks score all the time as long as that slack is being picked up. We saw that in Game 7 last Sunday against the Chicago Bulls when Patrick Ewing could not get off the block until the second half. But we also said at the beginning, Marv, that the Pacers were going to make a conscious effort to keep Patrick Ewing from getting a lot of catches and getting a lot of shots, and they've done that with the double team as Smith and Miller look on.
Reggie Miller has now sat out 9 minutes and counting. Departed after picking up a second foul. Charles Smith getting set to return for the Knicks. McKee lost the dribble. Oakley with the steal. Williams bullets it down, broken up by Antonio Davis.
Well, a lot of turnovers in this first half. 10 now for the Pacers, 9 for New York, and some of it is just careless ball handling, but a great deal of it is aggressive, grabbing, clutching defense that anytime anybody puts the ball on the floor, somebody's trying to dig it out.
And there is Reggie Miller back on the floor. He's matched with his good friend John Starks. 8:45 remaining, first half, and the Knicks lead by 4. The whistle away from the ball. Derek McKee called for a hold on Charles Smith. And Riley now has Smith, Mason, and Williams up front. Anthony and Starks in the backcourt. Mason for Smith. Charles Smith squaring up. A loose ball foul on Herb Williams coming over the back of Antonio Davis.
Well, with Patrick Ewing on the bench getting a rest, the Knicks are mixing it up inside, either trying to go to Mason, where they have a definite matchup advantage over Kenny Williams, or Charles Smith, who got started up and played very well in the early part of the game. But Derek McKee, who has the reputation of being a good defender, and he is pushing Smith way out and challenging his shot.
Indiana down by 4. Oh, explosive move by Kenny Williams and called for the offensive foul. Kenny Williams is a leaper, and he can explode, as you see right here, but that time it's a charging foul.
As both Patrick Ewing and Charles Smith stood in there to take it, and Larry Brown jumped off the Indiana Pacer bench, feeling that both Ewing and Smith too far underneath the basket and should not have been called a charge.
Anthony Mason trying to spin his way, and it was knocked out of bounds by the Pacers.
Well, it's not a comfortable place down low, tight to the lane, because anytime it goes in there, no matter whether it's Ewing, Mason, or Charles Smith, those fellas are drawing a crowd.
Rick Smits for Kenny Williams. And Matt, once again, we're seeing a lot of chatter on the court between Knick players as Ewing puts the move on Smith. Antonio Davis. Rick Smits. For Smits, his second field goal. He has 4, and the Knicks now lead 29-27. Smits got a piece of it.
Well, Patrick's trying everything. He's trying to drive past Smits, unable to do that with any success, and now trying to step out. Still doesn't look good shooting the ball.
Starks off the steal, finding Mason, and Mason will head to the line.
This ball, the reason Rick Smits gets this in nice rhythm and with that little jump hook is that the ball moved from the left side of the floor to the right with rhythm and getting good position. And Rick Smits this time pushing Ewing out on the floor and getting just enough of a hand up to force Ewing to short arm that shot a bit.
And a critical foul called on Reggie Miller. That is his 3rd. Antonio Davis raising his hand trying to draw that call. And it appears that Larry Brown wants to send Byron Scott on, replacing Reggie Miller.
And Reggie, who has not been doing a lot of talking during the series, is doing a lot of politicking right now as he turned around to Larry to try to wave him off and keep Byron from coming into the ballgame. He wanted to stay in.
taken by Indiana. 7:01 remaining in the second quarter. The Knicks lead by 4 points. Well, this is game 3 of the best-of-7 Eastern Conference Final. Game number 1 this past Tuesday night in New York. The Knicks with the 100-89 victory, sparked by Charles Oakley. Patrick Ewing also had a big game. And in game number 2, Ewing 32 points and 13 rebounds for another 11-point win. Reggie Miller still upset about that last foul call that has put him on the bench. Byron Scott has come on. Indiana now has lost 11 straight at Madison Square Garden. 31 of their last 33 dating back to January of 1983. Trying to get back into the series here at home where they have played so well. Knicks have missed their last 4 shots. They are up though by 4 with 6.5 remaining first half. Anthony has been hitting the 3. Rebounded by Workman. Scott putting the move on Anthony. And knocked out by Workman.
Reggie Miller sitting on the bench with 3 personal fouls, talking to Dick Pavetta and barking at him. He felt that that foul should have been called on Antonio Davis as Larry Brown getting involved, telling Dick Pavetta, you referee, let Reggie sit here, I'll coach, and everybody will be happy.
Ewing lost it. He thought he was fouled. Ewing deflected it away. Good hustle defensively. Greg Anthony with a beautiful move. So Greg Anthony has 5 points, and the Knicks lead by 6.
13 turnovers now for the Indiana Pacers. They're one of the top teams in the league during the regular season at 18 a game, and they have seemed to have solved the rebounding problems they've had against the Knicks, but right now they're just kicking the ball away way too much. Ball knocked loose by Patrick Ewing, and Anthony going to pick it up and going to do a nice job of ducking underneath Derek McKee to take it to the other side of the rim and use that rim as a shield. So the good defender Derek McKee not able to block that shot.
Pat Riley has to love what he was seeing here in the first half. A host of deflections by the Knicks. And Anthony is called for the foul. Anthony looking for the block. Came over the back of Workman. The Knicks have outscored the Pacers 14-6 here in the second quarter. In contrast to the second quarter on Thursday night, where at one point the Knicks hit 1 of 16 from the field and shot very poorly, but then able to break the game open late third, early fourth with that 14-0 run.
I was talking to Pat Riley yesterday about all the different things that he expects from his club defensively. Taking charges, challenging shots, getting to loose balls, which Charles Oakley has done so well. And he says, sometimes, though, I don't know if we'll ever score a point. He just does not know where the offense goes from time to time. But then, as it happened in the late third and early fourth period when they outscored the Pacers 18-2. If you play good defense, eventually you're going to wear that opponent down, and it'll turn into offense for you.
5-point Knick lead. Open with the high pick. Anthony able to use it. And then it's turned back. The block by McKee. Scott for Workman. First field goal for Hayward Workman.
Well, that last penetration by Greg Anthony at the Knicks offensive end, when he got that shot block, he fell to the floor and banged the back of his head and stayed down.
Workman with the steal. Indiana down by 3. Open shot passed up by Dale Davis. Workman for Smith. Nice runs by the Pacers. They are within 1. And Pat Riley wants a timeout.
As Greg Anthony penetrated, got caught up in the air, really not sure was going to take that shot. He got knocked hard to the floor. And just the 5th fast break of this first half for the Pacers as Hayward Workman finishes it off.
Hi again, everyone. Coming up on the Prudential Halftime Report, we'll talk about the Western Conference Finals between Houston and Utah, a series the Rockets now lead 2-1, and we'll hear from Utah's point guard, John Stockton. We'll also get the thoughts of Bill Walton and Julius Erving on the first half of the Pacers and the Knicks. New York leads it by 1 as we return to Market Square to rejoin Marv and Matt. Marvelous.
Okay, Bob, 4:28 remaining in this first half, and the Knicks bench has done the job to this point. Look at the shooting by the starters. Patrick Ewing 0 for 5. John Starks 0 for 3. Derek Harper has not attempted a shot. Only Charles Smith holding his own at 3 of 5.
And Charles Smith got those very early in the first period, but this does not really bother Pat Riley. As long as those other fellas are doing the job defensively, he knows the offense will come around, especially for Patrick Ewing.
And the Knicks starting lineup is back on the floor. Shot clock at 7. Starks for 3. Smith's rebound.
Once again, John Starks doing something a little bit different there. Got into his shot and tried to kick out his right leg to draw that foul from Byron Scott. So that just shows he is not confident when he's shooting the ball, when he's thinking about other things.
Well, Lester Connor making a rare playoff appearance with the Indiana guards in foul trouble. Connor handling, met by Smith. Smith knocked it away. Connor with the recovery, but it's a 24-second violation.
Lester Connor is one of those players who does not make a lot of mistakes or turnovers, and actually he almost lost the ball, got it back. That would be considered a team turnover with a 24-second violation.
Lester Connor in his 10th NBA season out of Oregon State, originally signed to a 10-day contract. He was actually playing in the CBA to stay in shape for Magic Johnson's barnstorming all-star team when he signed with Indiana. And the foul charge to Dale Davis.
John Starks comes off screens very, very well as he comes around this one set by Charles Smith, and you see him throw out that right leg, which is going to throw your shot off some. It's just, again, that lack of confidence when you just don't square up and tee the ball up and let it go. When you're thinking about doing something with your legs, it's probably going to be an errant shot.
Patrick Ewing looking for his first points of the game. Correction on that foul. Rick Smits picked it up, not Dale Davis, so that's number 2 on Smits, and Indiana over the limit. Well, for Patrick Ewing, this is reminiscent of last Sunday, Game 7 against the Chicago Bulls, where he did not score in the first half and then was able to come on strong in the second. Illegal defense called for the first time against the Knicks.
Well, last night we saw Akeem Olajuwon have a very difficult time as Larry Brown has just got teed up by referee Dick Bavetta, as he was probably chirping and asking for that illegal defense to be called, as Larry Brown is caught up in the emotions of this series, to be sure, and he's trying to let his team know that they're going to have to get caught up as well.
Charles Oakley, 1 of 2 from the line. Will shoot the technical.
Here's Larry Brown, who has had previous discussions with Dick Bavetta as to whether or not Reggie Miller picked up his 3rd personal foul, and he's now letting him know about that illegal defense and how it should have been called sooner. He eventually got the call, but he had probably been begging for it for about 10 seconds.
Knicks 34 and the Pacers 32. Deflected to the backcourt. Connor being guarded by Harper. Connor and Scott at the guards. The key from Smits. Just under 3 minutes remaining first half. Charles Oakley. And the Knicks now lead by 4.
Well, game 2, Hayward Workman had difficulty with trying to keep Derek Harper from penetrating. That time, Lester Connor, Harper was able to just blow by him and create that easy one for Oakley.
Here's Scott. Dale Davis kept it alive. And a foul call on Starks.
And John immediately putting up his hand to say, yes, I did. I fouled. Please don't call a flagrant, as this is going to be a hard hack on a beautiful feed from Rick Smits, as really John Starks, I don't know if you could say he made a play on the ball there. He certainly got a lot of shoulder and arm of Derek McKee and pretty much begged with his body language not for a flagrant not to be called. Again, coming over the top there because John Starks hacks McKee hard. Very, very questionable, as Haywood Workman has come back into the ballgame, replacing Lester Connor, as Larry Brown noticed that things were not only not smooth at the offensive end with Connor at the helm, that when he got beat by Derek Harper through the lane for an easy layup by Oakley, he figured he'd seen enough.
Reggie Miller, because of foul trouble, has played only 8 minutes in this first half. He hit 2 of 3 for 4 points. Knicks by 3. Again, the pressure being shown by the Pacers. They were effective with them in flashes earlier. Light pressure this time. Ewing comes up high. Screen and roll for Ewing. Patrick Ewing cannot get on the scoreboard. Beautiful pass from Scott. Antonio Davis looking for the resistance. Through the foul. It's on Ewing, his second.
Oh, Antonio Davis, normally very explosive in the basket area, able to go up for dunks, challenging Patrick Ewing inside. As Ewing holding his ground, but just leaning in a little bit with the arms, and a good call by the officials. At the other end, Patrick Ewing is making that quick move off the dribble to get into the lane, but he's got his head down. It's almost like he's making the move and then not really concentrating on releasing the ball.
Antonio Davis only a 64% foul shooter. Mason comes on for Smith. Antonio Davis, in his rookie year from Texas El Paso, he was originally drafted on the 2nd round back in 1990. Played in Italy and Greece this past 3 years. Very impressive for the Pacers in their summer league last July. And he has been a find. Just under 2 minutes to go. First half. The Knicks 36. The Pacers 34. That was deflected to the backcourt by McKee, so no violation. The Knicks have missed 8 of the last 10 shots. And now the call for a travel.
Well, Larry Brown has been calling for his team to play defense like the Knicks, and they did that time. Excellent pressure kept the New York from getting into any kind of smooth offense and forcing that turnover.
12 turnovers committed by the Knicks and 14 by the Pacers. That is a very high number. Derek McKee. Well, the story of this first half for Indiana, the offense of McKee. He's the high man with 11, and the game is tied at 36. 1:15 to go in the half. Ewing beating Antonio Davis and then Derek McKee, but cannot buy one. Oakley with the save, but he stepped out. And Charles landing in the second row.
Well, Charles has been doing that all season long. Nobody goes harder for loose balls than Charles Oakley, and he'll give up his body to go in anywhere. As that ball was another shot rushed by Ewing, as Oakley stepped on that line before he got his hands on the ball, but the effort certainly was there once again.
Not pretty numbers for Patrick Ewing in the first half. 0 for 7 from the field and 0 for 2 from the line. With just under 1 minute to go in the half. Byron Scott. Rebound Dale Davis. And then he lost control. Here comes John Starks.
Well, it looks like Starks had a fast break opportunity with Ewing running the floor, but good defense by the Pacers to level him off and prevent that run out.
Starks for 3. Yes. John Starks, who has been struggling from downtown, puts that one through, and the Knicks lead 39-36. And the foul is called. Once again, Antonio Davis to the line. Number 3 committed by Patrick Ewing.
Antonio Davis working hard inside, but not getting a lot accomplished in this series, as he played very well in the Orlando and Atlanta series. This time maybe a little bit overmatched by Patrick Ewing. He's trying to force things inside, and he is rushing things as well, as he feels the presence of Patrick Ewing around him.
Antonio Davis, 1 of 3 from the line.
20-second timeout, New York.
A 20-second timeout called by the Knicks. We've been talking about the comparison to Game 7 against the Chicago Bulls on Sunday, a game won by the Knicks with that dramatic turnaround by Ewing in the second half. Only 0 for 3. Was not able to get the shots, having difficulty with Bill Cartwright and Luke Longley. Well, he's had the shots here, Matt. Not able to hit. 0 for 7 from the field.
Well, it was interesting in that third quarter last Sunday against Chicago. Patrick didn't really get going until Bill Cartwright picked up his 4th personal foul, and Luke Longley came in the ballgame, and there was just nothing that Longley or the Bulls could do to stop Patrick as he scored 18 in that second half. And you're right, Marv. He is getting good moves into the lane, but just for some reason rushing things. Now, when Smits is in there, of course, the long reach and the threat of a shot block may force Patrick to rush things and change things. But right now, with Antonio Davis, a much smaller player at 6'9", trying to guard Patrick, but a good shot blocker, but really isn't a threat to block Patrick's shot.
Rolando Blackman making a cameo appearance. Lester Connor has returned. Pat Riley looking for the extra outside possibility, so Blackman is on the floor. Knicks by 2, 15 seconds to go in the half. Out of 10. Hopper around Connor. Hopper all the way. Oakley. He is blocked. Starks stripped. Starks. And that is the end of the first half. It ends with a flourish. The Knicks 39 and the Pacers 37. Derek McKee leading Indiana with 11. Charles Smith, Anthony Mason each with 8. Bob Costas and the Prudential halftime report in a moment. Welcome back to Market Square Arena, Indianapolis. Knicks by 2 at the half. Moments ago, Emerson Fittipaldi, last year's winner of the Indianapolis 500. Chalking up, Matt, yet another victory. This one against Boomer, the Indiana Pacer mascot. Matt, you pick him up where you can. At the half, it's a 39-37 lead for the New York Knicks over the Indiana Pacers, but the Pacers have come out in more aggressive fashion than we saw in the 2 games in New York.
Well, Larry Brown demanded more aggressiveness defensively, and he has gotten it. And it's amazing what that home court will do. But they forced 12 turnovers from New York and only gave them 5 points off the offensive board, and have really more than held Patrick Ewing in check.
Let's take a look at some of the stats from the first half. The Miller Genuine Draft halftime statistics. The Knicks at 14 of 35. They shot 40%. While Indiana at 14 of 30, 47%. Patrick Ewing at 18 minutes, 0 for 7 from the field. And 0 for 2 from the line. Also has 3 personal fouls. Turnovers playing a major role. Knicks with 12. Indiana committing 14. Derek McKee with 11 points. So he has turned things around. Let's hear more from the Indiana Pacer point of view. Ahmad Rashad with Coach Larry Brown. Ahmad?
All right, thanks a lot, Marv. Coach, one of the things you were really concerned with going into this game was the effort that your team had the first 2 games. Are you happy with the effort today?
Yeah, I'm thrilled. But if you'd have told me we'd have held Patrick 0 for 7 and be behind at halftime, I'd think you were crazy. But we're trying. We're having a hard time scoring.
Tremendous defensive pressure so far in the halftime.
Yeah, I thought both teams, really defended well. But, we got to have Reggie in the game. We can't have him play 8 minutes. Even if he doesn't score, he's a threat. But we just got to invent ways to score.
All right, good luck in the second half, Coach. All right, thanks a lot. Back to you, Marv.
Thank you, Ahmad. Yes, Reggie Miller with 3 personal fouls, 2 of 3 from the field, but played only 8 minutes in the half. We'll be back in Indianapolis in a moment. Welcome back to Market Square Arena. Capacity crowd better than 16,000 on hand for game 3 of this best of 7. I'll look at the scoring rundown of the first half. 8 apiece for Charles Smith and Anthony Mason. Hubert Davis with 7, but Davis picked up 3 fouls in a hurry. And Derek McKee bouncing back from the invisible performances at the Garden in games 1 and 2. McKee with 11. Byron Scott off the bench for 7. And this crowd attempting to rev up the home team. The Knicks lead by 2. Eric Hoffer, Don Starks in the backcourt, Patrick Ewing, Charles Smith, Charles Oakley up front. Smith with the block and Oakley with the follow, giving the Knicks a 4-point advantage.
Well, the Knicks coming out and using Patrick Ewing as a high post passer, not something they normally go to, but Charles Oakley, after freeing up Ewing, is wide open underneath.
Here's Reggie Miller. Workman plays the back tap. Workman. Well, Hayward Workman found the opening, and the Knicks now lead 41-39.
Well, that's one way to find points, get second efforts on the backboards, and both teams trying to do that. Both teams doing a good job of first half of keeping the other guy from doing it.
Loose ball foul against the Knicks. That is number 4 on Ewing.
And we see what he thought of that play as Derek McKee had inside position. And Patrick Ewing is going to have to go to the bench with that quick 4th here to start the 3rd period.
A one-time Indiana Pacer, Herb Williams, replaces Patrick Ewing.
And right away, Rick Smith's calling for the ball right now as he's going to get a little stagger screen coming across the lane.
And Workman was fouled.
And Workman not waiting for that play to develop as Smith was coming to his side to post up and being pressured, as he has been all series long, by Derek Harper. And when you are pressured, you have to take that opportunity to drive the ball to the basket. A good play by Workman in recognizing that you don't always have to run the play that is called if something else shows up.
Hayward Workman, originally a 2nd-round draft pick of the Atlanta Hawks in 1989, played only 6 games with Atlanta, moved on to Washington, and then Indiana. He has really dropped off offensively in the playoffs. Not that he's noted as an excellent shooter. That's not his game. You want him on the floor for his aggressive defensive play. Hayward Workman shot only 42% during the regular season. Dale Davis with the steal. Knicks lead by 1. And at 45 gone by, 3rd quarter. Rick Smith. Pacers have taken a 1-point lead.
Well, Rick wants it. He feels it. He feels he's got a mismatch inside with Herb Williams.
And a foul against Indiana.
Well, this is how you get second opportunities on outlet passes like this. A careless one by Williams as Dale Davis picks it off as Smith getting pushed outside by Herb Williams, and the shot challenged very late and very poorly as that is Rick Smith's range, just about 15 to 16 feet.
Foul on Workman, so 3 apiece on Workman, Miller, and Fleming. Ewing has 4. And Derek Harper has yet to score. Derek coming off the impressive game 2, 18 points, 8 assists, 6 rebounds.
And really struggling from the free throw line in this series. This shooting very poorly.
Indiana with the ball and a 1-point lead. Nice play by Williams. Knocked it away from Smith. Here's Oakley. And McKee lost it. Smith. And let's see what the call is here. Joe Forte making the call. Accidentally hit Reggie Miller in the face. Offensive interference is called.
Well, he's been head-butted a year ago, and then met rudely on the first play of this series by Charles Oakley, as that we see Charles Smith touching that ball while it's in the cellar, and now the referee's even trying to pop it.
retains possession. They have 13 on the shot clock. Pacers with a 15-8 run that goes back to the second quarter. And Davis on the recovery. And a loose ball foul called on Smith. So 3 on Smith.
Well, the tall front line of Smith, Davis, and McKee keeping that ball alive. Reggie Miller and Derek Harper getting all tied up here, and as they try to disengage, Derek Harper gets an extra little oof in there.
Starks leading Smith, met by the double team. Williams stepped out of bounds. Herb Williams and Rick Smits know each other very well, with Herb spending time here in Indiana. Many a practice session played against Rick Smits. And they are matched up here, not the ideal matchup from the Knicks point of view. Smits at 7'4". Dale Davis on the fake. Rebound, Rick Smits. And he has been able to take advantage of the 6'10", although listed at 6'11", Herb Williams.
And this is what Larry Brown meant to his team. Let's play like Charles Oakley. Let's get to the offensive board. Let's keep balls alive, and then we'll get more shots.
Oakley with a hard driving move. 10 points for Oakley. Indiana leads 44-43.
Well, that big front line of Indiana right now just playing volleyball on the offensive glass with Patrick Ewing on the bench.
The call made away from the ball. It's a push on Smith. Number 3 on Smith. Let's go to Ahmad.
All right, Marv, just to enhance what Matty just said, on the blackboard in the Pacers locker room, the first thing up there is we must rebound with all 12 guys. Marv?
Well, in the first half, Indiana did have the edge off the boards, 18-14. Workman. McKee controlling. Smith from outside. Oh, Indiana on a roll. They now lead by 3.
All because they're going after the ball, and the Indiana coaching staff and bench is absolutely ecstatic with what Derek McKee is doing right now. This is as aggressive as I've seen him all year.
Foul called as Oakley hit the floor. Foul committed by Dale Davis.
Well, that ball had been kept alive by Derek McKee and secured as Rick Smith, for a 7'4" player, and maybe any size player, just has a beautiful touch and release from that 15 to 17-foot mark.
Yes, this is a different Indiana team that we've seen here today. They were passive in the 2 games after going traveling violations. You got the idea, Matt, they were overwhelmed by the whole scene.
Well, and it's not all that unexpected. You just don't march into the Madison Square Garden and come out like a confident team. I don't care what the Pacers did in the earlier rounds. You're going against a very good basketball team, the best defensive team in the league, and they can make you look bad at times.
Miller played tightly by Starks, gets the screen. 3 on the 24. And the Pacers give it right back. Good switching by the Knicks.
A good recovery coming out of that pick-and-roll situation as Charles Oakley had to rotate towards Smith. They covered up very well. There's the kinds of mistakes that McKee makes. He is sometimes tries to pass the ball too much. He's aggressive right now. He should stay that way.
Williams knocked away. Harper. That was his first shot of the game. And a second opportunity for the Knicks.
Well, Derek Harper had one call. Pat Riley had another. They're going to go with Riley's call.
Six on the shot clock. Loose ball foul. It's on Dale Davis. His second. Timeout is taken. 6 minutes and 47 seconds left. Third quarter.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by Miller Lite. Great taste, less spilling. Can your beer do this? By Pizza Hut, who reminds you that anytime's a great time to stop and smell the pizza. And by Toyota and their full line of quality cars and trucks. Toyota, I love what you do for me.
Indianapolis 500 festive parade right throughout the day here in downtown Indianapolis. Indiana Pacers coming a long way in the second half over the last 15 seasons. Third best second half improvement. The Knicks under Hubie Brown in '83 went plus 14 in the second half. Orlando in '91 under the fellow to my right, Matt Dugas, a plus 11 in 1991 in the second half.
Just couldn't stop it, Mark. Try as I may.
6:45 remaining in the third quarter. It is New York ball. They are trailing by 3 points. Marv Albert, Matt Dukas, and Ahmad Rashad from Market Square Arena. And the Knicks are now 2 of 8 from the field in this third quarter. It has been a sloppy ball game. Both teams with 16 turnovers. Indiana trying to get back into the series, down 2 games to nothing. Davis blocked. Herb Williams got a piece of it. 1 out of 24. And that's a 24-second violation that did not hit the rim.
Well, even though Rick Smits rushed that shot and missed it very badly on the other side of the rim, he is playing with so much confidence right now. He's not afraid to put the ball on the floor and try to take his defender off the dribble. And if somebody comes to help, he's making good passes and good decisions and moving in and around and through the lane with a great deal of confidence.
Rick Smits has had an excellent series, as he did a year ago in that opening round playoff series between the Knicks and the Pacers. Harper beat Workman off the dribble and then took a shot from Smits and did not appreciate it.
And you're right, and Smits, like John Starks did earlier in the game, put his hand up quickly as to almost say to the referees, yes, I fouled him, and I fouled him hard, and please don't call a flagrant foul.
Smits with the foul, his fourth.
As Smits catches Harper right across the head. During the regular season, Smits was not that effective scorer in this 4-game series against New York, but the one thing he did early in the year in November was foul Patrick Ewing very hard like that, and Patrick Ewing came out of it with a sprained neck, and I'm sure Derek Harper is going to feel that.
Charles Oakley whispering into the ear of Rick Smits. Only 1 of the last 5 at the line. And Harper continues to have his problems at the foul line. He's 0 for 3. Rick Smits will sit down. Antonio Davis checks in.
And Derek Harper 0 for 8 in this series, which is going to make Pat Riley think in a close ball game in the 4th period on whether or not he can have Derek Harper out on the floor when free throw shooting becomes so crucial.
Indiana 46. The Knicks 44. Just under 6 minutes to go in the third quarter. Reggie Miller is along the baseline looking for position. And fires for 3. That's a 2. Stepped off the line. Nicely executed by the Pacers.
But Reggie Miller really had to work for that, and I'm sure Pat Riley will mind as John Starks chased him as hard as you can and forced a tough shot.
Indiana leads by 4, and a reach-in called on Miller. That is number 4 on Reggie Miller.
There's Reggie working the baseline, this time not using the low side of the screens, going up to the top, but Starks did what he's supposed to do, follow him as hard as he can. He lost a little bit of contact, and that's how he got loose. And off this pick-and-roll play, Reggie really taking a circuitous route to try to knock that ball loose. A foolish foul when he was playing with 3, and now he has to go back to the bench.
Reggie not able to get himself a ball game. Any key members in foul difficulty. 4 on Ewing, 4 on Smits, 4 on Miller. Been kind of a strange game. Patrick Ewing 0 for 7, 4 fouls. Looked like Derek Harper had a lead because he suffered a cut. That's probably the result of the blow. by Rick Smith. So Hoffer back to the bench. Knick trainer Mike Saunders checking him out, and he is replaced by Greg Anthony.
Well, Larry Brown said yesterday he wanted to match physical play with physical play. He wanted his team to be aggressive. And when you do that, and you're not necessarily used to, not to take anything away from Indiana's defense all year, it improved as the season went on and became one of the best defensive teams in the league as the playoffs approach. But they're not used to playing like the New York Knicks. But Larry wanted to put the onus on the referees and let them decide how to call this ball game. And they're calling it close, but there is a lot of hacking going on.
Indiana by 3. They come up on 5 minutes remaining in the third. Williams fronting Antonio Davis. Last touch by Charles Oakley with 4 on the 24.
Now Davis being fronted inside. The Pacers trying to make the right play, get the ball up top. They did to Dale Davis, but he did not get himself in good position to make that pass from high to low.
McKee will throw in. And the foul call. Derek McKee with kind of a look away inbound that surprised the Knicks, and it led to the foul.
A little eye contact between Byron Scott and McKee, asking for McKee to throw that lob pass over the top as John Stark, who has been very, very tough and physical in trying to prevent the shooting guards of Indiana coming to the ball.
Second foul committed by Starks. Knicks with their 4th team foul. Indiana has 5. And the foul is called. Antonio Davis with the drive is turned back. Charles Oakley charged with his 3rd.
That's a bit of a pet move for Antonio Davis when he catches the ball on the left baseline. Just a quick catch and go, and we've seen him hammering this thing home a couple of times as Charles Oakley gets a little windburn as Antonio Davis blew right by him.
Both teams have had problems at the line. That has been their pattern throughout the season. Indiana now 11 of 17. The Knicks 11 of 20 from the line. Here's Vern Fleming replacing Haywood Workman. Workman with 6 points and 4 assists. Vern Fleming from Monte Cristi High School in Queens. He has been able to ride through an injury-hit season. Had assorted injuries and ailments. He's now matched with Greg Anthony. Indiana leads by 5. Chant of defense from the crowd. Shot clock at 6. Here's Starks, and he is hammered. John Starks will go to the line.
Well, Dale Davis got himself caught just chasing around, not to be called for illegal. He gets himself back into the lane as John Starks finds a little seam to crawl into, as any New York Knick who has taken the ball to the basket has been hit and hit hard. And you can see right there, John Starks does not have that explosiveness in taking the ball to the basket, and he is another New York Knick who has struggled from the free throw line.
And he is a very dependable free throw shooter during the regular season at 75%. Very successful at the line in the earlier series against the Nets, but he has been off, as you say.
2 for 6 coming into this game 3.
Indiana with an 11-4 spurt since Patrick Ewing's 4th foul. A lot of whistles here in the 3rd quarter. That is number 4 on Oakley. And Byron Scott is shaken up.
Well, a lot of hard fouls being committed at both ends, as I think both teams are starting to, not just starting to get the message. The message was very clear in the beginning of this ballgame. Here, as Byron Scott goes inside, nobody is going to be able to get a layup off, but you have to keep taking the ball to the basket as Byron Scott's legs got taken out from under him. Here, Charles Oakley coming over to take that charge, and way too late. He did the right thing of stepping up to the dotted line, but then he threw the lower leg and hip into Byron Scott.
Byron Scott, understandably looking stunned, getting to his feet. Take a listen to this collision a moment ago. Of course, Charles Oakley lives for that type of contact. Byron Scott really felt it. Let's go over to Ahmad.
All right, Marv, I just spoke with David Craig, the Pacers trainer, and he says he has a bruise, that Byron has a bruise to his lower back, but obviously it's not that bad of a bruise because he is back into the ball game. Marv?
All right, Ahmad. Byron Scott, though, walking very gingerly just moments ago with the Indiana trainer, David Craig. Getting to Byron Scott, who is hearing it from the crowd. So Byron will go to the foul line after picking up the 4th foul on Charles Oakley. He is an 81% free throw shooter.
And with Reggie Miller in foul problems throughout this whole ball game, it is very important that Byron step up and give some kind of offensive contribution. But the offense has been very hard to come by in this ball game. Neither team getting up a lot of shots. The defense has been fierce. Anytime anybody takes the ball to the basket, they are getting hit and they are getting banged.
Reggie Miller, Rick Smits setting it out. They each have 4 fouls. Patrick Ewing with 4. Charles Oakley has 4. The mystery, the play of Patrick Ewing, scoreless in the game. Scoreless last Sunday in Game 7 against Chicago, but then turned it up in the second half. Not the case to this point here. They double up on Starks, and the pass deflected out by Dale Davis. So the Knicks will have 4 on the 24. Indiana has a 5-point lead.
And Charles Oakley sits on the New York bench with 4 personal fouls as well. Mason in for him, and Mason gave the Knicks some offensive punch in that first half. Look to see if New York goes to him here.
Anthony forcing air ball, 24-second violation. Byron Scott headed back to the Indiana dressing room.
And Larry Brown going with Vern Fleming at the big guard position. It'll give the Pacers another ball handler, but right now when you look at that ball club for Indiana out there right now, not a lot of perimeter shooting, not a lot of ways to get baskets other than throw it up and go get it again.
Workman's penetrating. Well, he threw it up and he hit.
Oh, that'll suffice as they get some unexpected punch from Hayward Workman, who has mightily struggled offensively throughout all the playoffs, in particular this series.
Anthony Mason. Indiana 52 and the Knicks 47. Indiana has led by as many as 7 as they did a moment ago. Earlier in the game, the Knicks led by 6. McKee followed by Smith and handshake. Eric McKee checking the 24. McKee forced the shot, but last touch by the Knicks. And now the Pacers have 2 on the 24.
Interesting, Jared McKee took a look, but he looked behind him at the other end shot clock, forced to take a very bad shot by Charles Smith.
McKee will inbound. Antonio Davis. Dale Davis on the follow.
Well, that's how the Pacers can get offense. Let one of the Davises or Workman throw it up towards the basket and let the other Davis go knock it in.
Indiana matching its biggest lead, a margin of 7. And Larry Brown about to go deep into his bench for LaSalle Thompson. Foul is called. Starks will go to the line.
Well, with just 2 seconds on the shot clock, the Pacers looking for some kind of a lob play here on the underneath out-of-bounds play as everybody breaking towards the baseline, and Antonio Davis doing a good job of freeing himself, aware of the shot clock, and just catching and popping it up towards the rim.
Starks only 1 of 4 from the line. The Knicks 11 for 22. They have really hurt themselves at the foul line. Anthony Bonner, who has been a forgotten man ever since Charles Smith was inserted into the starting lineup in the series against the Chicago Bulls. Anthony Bonner has been silent. Anthony Bonner, a very important player for the Knicks during the course of the regular season. LaSalle Thompson, who suffered a broken bone in his left hand in Game 1 of the series against Orlando, made his return, surprisingly, In game 2, played 2 minutes the other night. He's on the floor here right now. Workman with a gorgeous move, and yes, Hayward Workman has turned it up.
Well, he was victimized in game 2 by Derek Harper, who continually drove by him, got into the lane, and taking the ball to the basket. Now Workman is turning it around and doing it to Greg Anthony.
Indiana by 7. The call away from the ball with Starks and Fleming entangling, and it's called on Fleming.
Actually, the ball on the left side of the floor, and Fleming trying to stay with Starks. And this is something that Larry Brown talked to his team about practice yesterday. When the ball is on the left side of the floor, you should not be worried about your man way away from the basket on the right side. And really, Fleming not really aware of what the situation was, just so concerned with staying with John Starks. He should have been near the lane, near the free throw line, ready in a help position.
John Starks, 3 for 7 from the line. Ewing and Oakley each have 4. Now 4 apiece on Smith, Miller, and Fleming. Indiana 56, New York 50. 2:10 remaining in the third. Good look from Fleming, getting it to Antonio Davis, and then tip home. LaSalle Thompson with his first field goal, and that gets a big response from the crowd. Indiana by 8, their biggest lead of the game. Starks fouled by Fleming. That's 5 on Vern Fleming.
Indiana running a pick and roll play. They get trapped, and New York Knicks do a good job with Williams coming over, but when that shot is missed, the big front line of Indiana continues to hammer that offensive board. Williams and Thompson as a very unwise foul there by Vern Fleming on John Stark, who has struggled from the perimeter, not shooting the ball very well. No reason to get up and challenge the shot to that degree to foul him, even though John and the rest of the Knicks are not shooting their free throws very well. A very poor foul.
So Lester Connor, who has been spotted throughout today's game, will check in for Vern Fleming. Indiana has outscored the Knicks 21-12 here in the third. A minute and 45 remaining third quarter. Indiana now leads by 7. Our NBA playoff coverage continues tomorrow afternoon here on NBC Sports. 3 o'clock Eastern time for Houston and Utah. The Rockets now up 2-1. Utah Jazz bouncing back at home last night. Karl Malone, 22 points, 16 rebounds. Hakeem Olajuwon missing his first 8 shots last night. Utah trying to tie that series. Wow. We'll be back Monday afternoon, Memorial Day special here on NBC. It's the New York Knicks and the Indiana Pacers in game number 4. And that will be a 3:30 Eastern time start, with showtime getting underway at 3 o'clock Eastern time.
In game 2, Indiana gave up 19 offensive rebounds to New York. They are leading the Knicks today only by 1, 9-8, but it's been a big difference here in the third quarter as they have outscored the Knicks in second chance points 11-5. So the combination of the Davises and on that last play, LaSalle Thompson getting a tip in, and the good work of Hayward Workman penetrating and beating Greg Anthony off the dribble has given Indiana this lead.
This is an Indiana Pacers team that went 47-35 during the regular season. Their best ever mark in the NBA. Finished tied for third in the Central. Tied with Cleveland, 10 games behind Atlanta. In the playoffs, first round, they sweep Orlando in 3 and then beat Atlanta in 6 games. Larry Brown revitalizing this franchise. That man, Reggie Miller, has not spent much time on the court here this afternoon. In foul trouble early. He has 4. He's only 3 of 5 from the field. Reggie Miller has had a very quiet series.
Well, all of the Pacers came into today's game trying to make the effort defensively, to get after people, to bend your knees and hack away at balls, knock them loose, get to both backboards, and it has been a very physical afternoon. And Reggie Miller, not known for being a physical defender, he made a lot of sacrifices this year to make the effort, take less shots, more attention to defense, and it certainly helped his Pacer team this year. But no way does a shooter and scorer like Reggie Miller want to be spending time on the bench with foul trouble.
Indiana leads by 6 points. Minute 35 remaining in the third. Workman and Lester Connor in the backcourt. LaSalle Thompson, Kenny Williams, Antonio Davis up front. Here's Thompson. The save by Connor. Connor gets the pick. And a foul call. Illegal pick upset by LaSalle Thompson.
That's a pretty good bet as LaSalle Thompson is moving around out there with that big wide frame, looking to hit anybody he can. That's the second time he gets into John Starks trying to free up Connor here as he gives that little bit of extra with the left forearm.
Gilbert Davis, another player in early foul trouble, has checked in for the first time this third quarter. Here's Davis getting the step. Finds Anthony. That's a three-point attempt. Connor with the rebound. Kenny Williams. Fouled by Anthony Bonner.
This is what a Kenny Williams can give you. He loves to run the floor. He loves to play above the rim. They like to throw lob passes to him, but when he gets it out in the open court like that, he can take it hard to the basket. But once again, nobody is going to get a free layup if there's a blue shirt around. In that case, Anthony Bonner hacked him.
Kenny Williams, a 70% free throw shooter. Line drives it home. You just saw that three-point attempt by Greg Anthony. An odd stat. He has attempted more from three-point range than from two-point land during the course of the playoffs.
Well, he's just not a confident shooter in that 15 to 16-foot area, and when he does get into the lane, he doesn't finish very well. And he is the guy that most teams are going to double team off and give the open shot on the double teams of Ewing.
The Knicks with the ball trailing by 8. Half minute to go in the third. Davis on a quick release. Deflected short. Here comes Connor for the Pacers. 20 seconds to go. LaSalle Thompson, played by Anthony Mason. And deflected out. Last touch by the Knicks. Indiana with 9 on the 24. And 12 seconds remaining in the quarter. Substitution, Derek McKee being waved on. And he'll replace LaSalle Thompson. And LaSalle hears it from the crowd. Here comes Byron Scott. So apparently he's all right. Workman. Nice setup for McKee. Final seconds of the third. Indiana by 10. Anthony. So the Indiana Pacers leading the New York Knicks 62 to 52 as we head to the fourth at Market Square. We'll be back after a word from your local station.
This copyrighted telecast of the National Basketball Association may not be retransmitted, reproduced, or rebroadcast without the express written consent of the NBA.
Well, one of our ace cameramen, Eric Eisenstein, playing with his toy cars, Matt. In fact, I'm told stole them from his 10-year-old son.
Indianapolis 500 fever, and yes. This is the first time I have ever been in this area at this time of the year, and it is hard to believe. Heard a lot about it, but the first time I've ever seen it.
The Knicks with only 13 points in the third quarter, outscored 25-13. Well, perhaps this is where Pat Riley wanted his ball club to be. They they may feel they have the Pacers where they want it, because the Knicks have been a very powerful fourth quarter ball club. Reggie Miller back in, not able to hit. And on the follow, a foul is called as Antonio Davis attempted the putback. It's on Anthony Bonner.
Of course, the Knicks, over the course of the year and in the playoffs, have done a lot of that defensive damage in the fourth period at Madison Square Garden. However, if you remember Game 3 in the Chicago series, and they came way back from a wide margin, unable to pull that game down. Tony Kukoc won it with about a second to go, so the Knicks are capable of doing it on the road.
Antonio Davis 5 for 7 from the line. Indiana pulling away biggest lead of the game, margin of 11. Knicks with a backcourt of Greg Anthony and Hubert Davis. Patrick Ewing back on the floor, up front with Anthony Mason and Anthony Bonner. And Reggie Miller just picked up his 5th.
And he has a look on his face of, why did I bother getting out of bed today? He has just not been able to get anything done as far as any kind of rhythm, get into any kind of flow because of the foul problems, and Larry Brown's just going to leave him there now with 5.
And with Miller picking up 5 and Spence having 4, you figure out Pacers lead by 11. Mason bottled up. Ewing make it 0 for 8 for Patrick Ewing. And Anthony Mason called on a loose ball foul. Well, we saw Byron Scott making his way back onto the floor a moment ago. Let's go to Ahmad.
All right, thanks, Marv. An update on Byron's injury. It was diagnosed as a bruised pelvic bone. He was taken to the locker room and given a deep massage by the Pacers trainer, David Craig. He loosened it up. He'll keep ice on it while he's on the bench, but obviously he's fine. He has just re-entered the game. Marv?
Thanks, Ahmad. Byron Scott involved in that collision in the third quarter with Charles Oakley and came up staggering. But apparently he's all right. Here's Lester Connor.
Well, one of the rare times the New York Knicks defending the pick and roll and going underneath. Normally they'll trap that, but Lester Connor read it beautifully and took one of his rare shots and made it.
Indiana by 13. A minute gone by in the fourth. The Knicks shooting has been horrendous in the second half. Loose ball foul against the Pacers. Foul on Kenny Williams. Anthony Mason to the line. Well, Reggie Miller playing only 15 minutes this afternoon, yet Indiana leads by 13 points. Miller 3 for 6 in the field. And the poor Knick foul shooting continues. They are 16 for 29.
The Pacer coaching staff always knows that Charles Oakley is going to be a force to reckon with underneath the backcourt for the offensive boards, getting about 5 or 6 a game in this series, but also very much worried about Anthony Mason. They feel he just takes bodies and throws them out of the way to get second chances. Scott now at the guards. McKee, Williams, and Antonio Davis up front. Here's Kenny Williams. Williams, Mason battling for possession. They double up on Anthony. Here's Mason. Oakley kept it alive. Ewing desperately trying to get in the scorebook. Patrick Ewing is 0 for 9. Antonio Davis called for a charge. And the basketball-wise crowd here in Indiana have watched a lot of high school basketball and, of course, college ball down at IU. About 70 miles down the road, feel that Antonio Davis should have been given the opportunity to take a step there. As on the catch, Patrick Ewing took the little bump and the little flop and gets the call. Patrick Ewing really struggling at the offensive end and thinking about it right now, measuring every shot. The best way for him to get a field goal is get to the offensive board and get a stick back. And this coming off a magnificent game that he had Thursday night. 32 points, 13 rebounds, 20 of his 32 came in the second half. Offer rejected by Antonio Davis.
Back comes Hopper. It's a 2-on-1. Oakley lost it.
Knicks are just rushing everything offensively right now. Had a nice 2-on-1 situation. Charles Oakley tried to lay that ball up before he actually got his hands on it.
The Knicks have missed their last 8 shots. That dates back to the 3rd quarter. And they are down by 12.
Miller Genuine Draft presents Genuine Moments.
The second pick in the 1985 NBA draft goes to the Indiana.
Well, that's the scene 9 years ago. Dave DeBuscher's reaction as the New York Knicks were awarded the first pick in the 1985 draft. Very youthful NBA commissioner, David Stern. Second pick went to the Indiana Pacers. And here's how the first 5 picks went. Patrick Ewing, Wayman Tisdale taken by Indiana, Benoit Benjamin, the X-Man, Xavier McDaniel, and John Concat. How the history of the NBA was dramatically changed by that draft. In recognition of this moment, but a genuine draft donates $1,000 to the Thurgood Marshall Scholarship Fund. Indiana 65 and the Knicks 53. The Knicks with only 1 field goal in the last 11 minutes. Connor's shot blocked. And Oakley takes it away. This is not exactly pretty basketball. It's been grind out. The Knicks 0 for 5 from the field in the 4th quarter, shooting only 33% for the game. They're 17 for 51.
And Pat Riley looking for some kind of combination for the Knicks has gone with a 3-guard offense to give them that kind of capability. Not that he wants them to just launch threes indiscriminately, but when they're there, take them. Davis, Starks, and Harper can all make them.
Connor had the opening and then changed his mind. You know, not that the Knicks and the Pacers have been strangers to this type of performance. They each have had games where they have had trouble scoring. Derek McKee has not had any trouble here this afternoon. For McKee. And the Indiana Pacers have opened up a 14-point lead. The Knicks have missed their last 9 shots. Ewing has it knocked away. Last touch by the Pacers. Rick Spence and Haywood Workman checking back in.
And with this 3-guard setup, Pat Riley hoping that it'll spread the floor some to give Patrick Ewing some opportunities inside, but he has drawn that double team in that crowd every time he has caught the ball in the low post today, and it has made a gigantic difference.
Starks, that's a 2-pointer. John Starks stepping on the line. For John, only his 2nd field goal. He has 11. So the Knicks finally hit a shot in this 4th quarter. They had missed 9 in a row. This goes back to the 3rd. Now here's Harper. And Derek Harper able to lay it home. So the Pacers now lead 67-57.
And the Knicks extending their defense, putting pressure on the ball. Now not only challenging shots, but challenging every pass to try to force some turnovers to climb back into this ballgame. Down by 10.
Brown making a decision to send on Reggie Miller despite the 5 fouls. Reggie checking in, replacing Byron Scott. Foul committed by Starks, his 3rd.
Larry noticed that on that last turnover by Byron Scott as he had his pocket picked by Derek Harper and just really labored trying to run back defensively.
Ball kicked by Davis. Workman thought he was tripped up by Davis. And it will be Indiana ball. Larry Brown has Workman and Miller in the backcourt. McKee with Spence and Dale Davis up front. Hubert Davis with the hand on the face of Haywood Workman. And a foul is called. That's about as close to face guarding as you can get, but they don't go. It's John Starks, very upset. Apparently the foul was called on Starks.
Well, John Starks is matched up with the 6'10" Derek McKee, who was working around the post, and of course Starks giving up a lot of height there, trying to stay with and just call for reaching in. Of all the hacks and all the hits in this ball game, that was as soft as you could get. And when Starks was pleading his case to the official, Charles Oakley tried to settle him down, pull away, and Starks took a little swing at him.
Oakley called for his fourth.
There's John Starks with the referee. He just does not want anybody on his team to talk to him. When he wants to go tell the referee something, he wants to tell them. And he's got with his teammates in that situation.
Well, the Knicks have gone at each other on a number of occasions this season. Various disagreements that have taken place on the court. We saw Greg Anthony get involved with John Starks in animated fashion during the Knicks-Bulls series. Got into a jawing match when Anthony tried to tell Starks that he was hurting the Knicks defensively by gambling too much to make steals. We talked about the on-the-court bickering with Knicks coach Pat Riley. Here's his response.
There's not any kind of disunity on this team at all. We have a very emotional team. You know, if somebody's not blocking out, if somebody's not getting on the floor for a loose ball, if somebody's blown an assignment or missing an open man, their form of communication can be better. I mean, there's a message, there's a tone of voice, and then there's also body language. I'm trying to get through to them how to communicate a little bit better, but that's the way we are.
Pat understating, being very diplomatic, the form of communication could be a little bit better. Well put.
And the nucleus of this team has been together a while, and they've been through a lot of wars. Can you imagine what some of the practices are up at Purchase, New York? I'm sure it's one of the many, many reasons why Pat Riley closes his practices to everybody. They must have some battles.
They are a very intense, emotional group. 69-57 Indiana. Starks coughed it up. 3-on-1. And they have to regroup. Smith. Yes.
Everything clicking for the Pacers right now. Reggie Miller not taking the open shot on the fast break. Gets away with it as he's bailed out by Rick Smith's jumper.
Ewing. Foul. Patrick Ewing going through a nightmarish performance. His season low, 7 points against Dallas. He has not scored today. Timeout taken. 6:39 remaining in the fourth. It's Indiana by 14.
The NBA on NBC is brought to you by new Ice Brewed Iced Draft from Budweiser. Taste the future of draft beer. By the NASDAQ stock market, the stock market for the next 100 years. And by Jeep and Eagle, official vehicles of the NBA.
Well, with 6:39 remaining in the second half, the Knicks with an embarrassingly low 18 points in the second half. 13 in the third quarter, 5 here in the fourth. Patrick Ewing's next point will be his first. 0 for 9 from the field, 0 for 2 from the foul line. This is unbelievable. This may be the worst game in the NBA career of Patrick Ewing. You know, you can say, well, he did some other things out there, but I don't know if there's any evidence of that in the first half. Ewing finally scored. And again, I say coming off 2 very strong performances, plus the tremendous second half against the Bulls in Game 7 on Sunday. Indiana up 71-58 as Derek Harper is called for that contact foul. The fewest points ever scored by a team in the playoffs, 69. Indiana in Game 2 losing to Atlanta this season. And the Knicks have 58 points with a good shot at that record with 6:29 remaining.
And in trying to read Pat Riley's mind a little little bit watching sitting on the bench as Patrick missed that first free throw. He's probably thinking, well, he's having a stinker. It's a nightmare, but hopefully he's getting it out of his system. This happens to all players. We saw Olajuwon have an off night last night. However, he scored 29 in that off night.
Yes, he missed his first 8 shots from the field. Again, the Knicks facing some pressure. Illegal defense against the Pacers. That is their warning.
Well, in college fashion, Larry Brown appealing to this somewhat college-type crowd. We talked about the Indiana high school basketball fever here, along with Indiana University. As his player was on the free throw line, he wanted the crowd to keep quiet.
Deflected out by the Pacers. So the Knicks maintain possession. Game 4 here in Indianapolis, Monday afternoon. Starts with showtime, 3 o'clock Eastern time. Harper for 3. Well, Derek Harper with a rare second half field goal. The Knicks are now 6 for 21 from the field in the second half. Indiana 73, the Knicks 61. And despite the poor play by the Knicks, this game is still within reach.
Well, normally you say the Knicks would have a tough time coming back from a deficit of 10 or 12. And Dale Davis got away with a little shuffle up the feet there. But we saw it in game 2. They can outscore a team like Indiana 18-2. But right now in front of this home crowd, it is going to be a tall task.
Ewing 0 for 10. Staying with the 3-guard alignment. And Reggie as Dale Davis gets inside. And the Knicks want to talk it over. Indiana by 16.
Well, the Pacers started out the game double-teaming Ewing on every catch, and it got him off to a terrible start here. Single coverage by Rick Smith. The quick turnaround by Patrick Ewing. It used to be his favorite shot, and he is just having one of those horrible offensive afternoons.
Ewing is now 0 for 10. And that is the worst shooting performance of this year's NBA playoffs. Fewest points scored in a half in NBA playoff history. 82, Philadelphia with 27 points. The Knicks with only 22 in the second half. Trailing 77-61 with 4:40 remaining in the fourth quarter. Rick Smits with the rebound. Reggie Miller. Double figures, he has 10. Indiana has opened up an 18-point lead.
Well, it's all coming undone for the New York defense right now as Derek Harper loses contact with Miller, and that is death as he curls that screen. Is now Indiana starting to get anything they want in the interior of the Knicks defense, so you know that is spells trouble for New York.
Derek McKee charged with a foul, sending John Starks to the line. Starks is now 6 for 11 from the foul line. There are no happy statistics for the Knicks in this contest. They're 6 for 23 from the field in the second half. Indiana leads 79-62. We come up on 4 minutes remaining in the fourth. Davis able to hustle it down. Starks. Rebounded by Oakley, and he is fouled. Charles Oakley will head to the foul line. Rick Smits called for number 5.
Typical Charles Oakley, and I think still trying to send a message to his teammates. No matter what the situation, no matter what the score, I am going to go out there and continue to do the things I do for this ball club and work as hard as I can, and that's what he does, is get to the offensive board and try to get them back up. And I'm sure Charles Oakley very upset with his team right now for kind of coming undone at the seams, so to speak, because just because Patrick Ewing is having a bad offensive afternoon, that doesn't mean that Patrick and other players can't do the other basketball things to stay in the ballgame.
There's Corey Gaines, who has been spotted during the playoffs, replacing Derek Harper. Corey Gaines did a nice job when Derek Harper was suspended. Ran the club well. Corey Gaines, a guy who has made several stops around the NBA. Signed on as a free agent out of the CBA back in December. 79-64, Indiana. Reggie Miller feeling it now. Indiana by 17.
Well, Reggie has not gotten a lot of good looks. He claims he has, but now in these last couple of minutes, he's starting to almost look like a regular season game as he's getting wide open.
And Oakley hooked from behind by Dale Davis, who commits his fifth.
But Corey Gaines losing contact again as he gets picked off, not following Reggie Miller as hard as he can from behind. And at the other end of the floor, in that last post-up with Patrick Ewing, Patrick showing that, hey, he can still do other things. Pass the ball inside to Oakley, who got good position, but that's enough for today for Patrick Ewing as he goes to the bench.
Receiving a sarcastic reaction from the crowd. This is one we will not forget. 0 for 10 from the field, 1 for 4 from the line, only 1 point, only 4 rebounds. And the Knicks are now 21 for 37 at the line.
Well, I said at the beginning of the game that the Pacers were going to have to find some kind of way to cut down on Patrick's catches and shots, but I had no idea it was going to be this extent, and I don't think Larry Brown did either.
.320 to go in the fourth. Indiana 81 and the Knicks 64. Greg Williams, Rolando Blackman back on the floor for the Knicks. We come up on 3 minutes remaining in what has been a very long afternoon for the New York Knicks. Indiana Pacers getting back into the series. Oakley looking for the contact. Well, he got it, but no foul call. And Antonio Davis is fouled by Herb Williams.
Charles Oakley on this pick and roll play with Hubert Davis trying to take it hard inside of Rick Smits, who stuck out his right elbow and caught Charles Oakley right on the dome.
The update on the very poor Knicks shooting, 20 for 60 for the game, 6 for 25 in the second half. That's 24%. Here's Vern Fleming replacing Rick Smits. Rick Smits, 7 of 10, 14 points, along with 7 rebounds.
A lot of people in and around the Pacer organization, and I think some of the players and the coaching staff as well, were just really questioning the confidence level of this team after losing those 2 in New York. This has gone a long way in answering that, but there's no question, Mark, this home crowd here in Market Street had a lot to do with getting it off to a good start.
Davis preventing the shot by Miller.
Reggie Miller on this breakaway after Rolando Blackman couldn't handle it. Hubert Davis just trying to wrap him up and keep him from making the layup, putting an excellent free throw shooter on the line, however, although Reggie is struggling in the playoffs. 91 during the regular season, just 79 during the playoffs. Interesting, a lot of people in the crowd putting up the cross arm signal, college and high school for intentional foul. You know where these people's basketball interests lie for many, many years, but they're starting to get Pacer pride and believe in this NBA team.
An ovation greeting Derek McKee and now Haywood Workman. Outstanding games for both. McKee with 15 points, bouncing back from the silent games in New York. Madison Square Garden Tuesday and Thursday. And Haywood Workman a big factor today. 4 of 6 from the field, 12 points, 5 assists. 84-64, Indiana. Herb Williams. So the Knicks with 66 points. The playoff record, fewest points
2 minutes to
in a game held by the Indiana Pacers. Game 2 of the series against Atlanta when they scored only 69. Reggie Miller, and it's handled by Rolando Blackman with 1 minute and 45 remaining. Sam Mitchell on the floor for the first time. Mitchell matched with Anthony Bonner down low.
I wonder if the Pacers are aware of that statistics. I'm sure they'd like to get their names off that particular record.
And an offensive foul on Bonner. Well, that is very much a record, very much in sight here with 1 minute and 31 remaining. The Knicks with only 13 points in the third quarter and struggling here in the fourth. They scored only 14 in this fourth quarter. Antonio Davis with the tip. Well, this is the start of a banner sports weekend here in Indianapolis. The home fans enjoying the victory here as Hubert Davis is able to hit and a foul. Lester Connor called for the foul, and Hubert Davis now could convert the Knicks' 69th point.
Here, Hubert Davis, who drives so well to his left. Nobody's shutting down there as he will go to the free throw line and try to get that 69th point for the New York Knicks. Every time I asked Larry Brown yesterday what he meant about physical defense and playing like Charles Oakley and all that, he kept saying, I want my team to play defense like the Knicks with that help mentality, with the physical aggressiveness. And we are capable of doing it. It's a high compliment to pay the New York Knicks, and very hard to get it on just 1 day's notice.
We come up on 1 minute remaining in the fourth quarter. And the foul on Corey Gaines. 86-68, Indiana. And the Pacers feeling a bit better about themselves off the 2 losses at Madison Square Garden. Here's Lester Connor at the line.
Well, there are a number of keys for them. Number 1 was the rebounding situation. They just got hammered on the board in Madison Square Garden basically over the 2 ball games, and the other thing was stopping this man from getting around 30 points a ball game, and they have done those 2 things, and they've done them very, very well as the Davises have done an outstanding job on the backcourt.
As you see, under 1 minute remaining. It has been all Indiana. Game 4 on Monday afternoon here at Market Square. Blackman forcing the shot. Mitchell with the save. And Mike Mathis calls a jump ball. Well, that record still alive. The Knicks with 68 points, the all-time low in playoff competition. This since the inception of the 24-second clock, 69 points.
Talking with Pat Riley yesterday, he was saying that he felt his team was aware of the situation, having the 2-0 lead, knowing that coming into this building was going to be very, very difficult. However, this will really serve as a wake-up call.
There's Blackman. Larry Brown telling Vern Fleming to get it up court. This will be a record low 68 points for the New York Knicks to erase that 69-point game against the Atlanta Hawks in the second round of the playoffs. The Knicks only 8 for 29 from the field in the fourth quarter. An embarrassing second half for the Knicks, who are defeated 88-68. Let's go to Ahmad, who has Larry Brown and Reggie Miller with him. Ahmad?
All right, thanks, Marv. I know, Coach, you had talked to your team about getting one win, and that might change the whole complexion of this series.
Well, I hope that's true. Sometimes coaches lie, but I honestly felt we could compete with them. And I was just hoping that we could get a game like this and show ourselves we can do it. And the fact they got 68 points, you got to be proud of your team.
How do you turn around and get that kind of physical defense in just a couple of days?
Well, we've always played good defense. We were just a little tentative. Now, you know, hopefully we made a series, but I think that series begins tomorrow.
All right, thanks a lot, Coach. All right, Reggie, you got some good looks today and finally knocked a few down.
Yeah, well, I knew I was getting early foul trouble. I just had to keep myself moving out there and try to stay mentally in the game. But this is a big game for us. We haven't beaten New York in a while, and we just wanted to win the first one to kind of send them a message.
Were you kind of feeling a little bit of pressure coming into this series?
A little bit, but we're just happy to be in the Eastern Conference Final. We know we can compete with New York. It's just a matter of us going out and doing it.
All right, congratulations, D.
Thank you.
All right, back to you, Marv.
All right, Ahmad. On a day that saw Patrick Ewing go 0 for 10 from the field, score only 1 point. The Knicks with just 29 points in the second half. That is a franchise low for playoff competition. And the Knicks shot 34% for the game, 22 out of 64. Indiana with 49% shooting. And Indiana with a 20-point victory, 88-68 over the New York Knicks. In a moment, Bob Costas.